What you're about to see and hear exists in reality in Jamaica and has become one of the many unfortunate chapters in our young history. Every source of information was found in the public domain and represents only the truth as it exists. Corruption in its various forms is a serious threat to the social order and the rule of law.
You know, the governance part, that's where most of the problem lies within the country, you know. Transparency International give Jamaica a ranking of 3.3 out of 10, where the closer you get to 0, the more corrupt you are.
But many people have reported that the experience of low-level corruption has diminished considerably in recent years. So what the score probably reflects is the continued existence of high-level corruption, which really reflects the way that our political system is still contaminated by links with organised crime.
My particular concern is the complicity of government and those who are in political leadership and what they should do differently and how they allow things to go by and even contribute to public office being misused.
At the political level, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence and people that speak to you off the record about wanting to do investments in Jamaica, whether local investors or foreign investors, and feeling that either being outrightly asked to pay for services or feeling that because they were unwilling to, then whatever ideas they had did not get to the top of the chain.
Towards the end of the 1960s, when Jamaica was amongst the fastest growing economies in the world, we received what was up until that point the largest loan to a developing country granted by the World Bank, and we received that loan for educational purposes, to build schools and institutions that would have been able to receive the influx of young people seeking an educational opportunity in the years after independence. The loan did not achieve its purpose as intended. There were immense cost overruns, 100%, which contributed to the beginnings of our debt, and which, had we not had those overruns, we could have built 50 more schools. Reason? Partisan, political award of contracts, not on the basis of merit, not on the basis of competence, but on the basis of party connection. And of course, the contractors gave back to the politicians, to the party, kickbacks in appreciation for this political corrupt behavior. Jamaica suffered then, and we continue to suffer now from this political corruption that we need to bring to an end.
The decade before independence, Jamaica was well on its way to establishing a first-rate education and training system. On the technical side, the College of Arts, Science and Technology was established. And the technical schools, Kingston Technical, Homewood Technical, Dintle Technical, and then St. Elizabeth Technical, were all given a modern science curriculum. And graduates would feed into the College of Science, Arts and Technology. The effect was there. Within 3 years, Jamaicans were now staffing the bauxite industry. The Jamaican economy grew faster in the decade between 1953 and 1963 than the economy of any developing country in the world. And the prestige of Jamaica was such that in 1966, Jamaica was selected by the World Bank for a very special loan for education purposes. The amount of money is 9.5 million. But place that in context. For the 10 years, or for the period, more than 10 years, between 1953 and 1966, only 4.5 million was spent on secondary education. And you're now getting a loan of 9.5. And what this means is that in one shot, between 3 years, it should have been a 3-year program, 1966 to 1969, you would almost have doubled your capacity for secondary education. The way how we spent it gave education and training a setback from which it has never recovered. The government of the day called in Dr. Arthur Burt. He made one very, very important change to the method of hiring contractors. And that was, whereas before, there was an established panel of contractors, certified, who members of parliament could recommend from, but a panel at the Ministry of Education would have the final say in choosing. That was changed to allow each member of parliament to recommend the contractors who would build the schools in their constituencies. The program lasted not 3 years, but 6. And more importantly, the overrun on the primary school building program was 125%. And the overrun on the secondary school program, 100%. Which means for the money spent, the Jamaican taxpayer should have had twice as many schools. A new administration took government in 1972, and looking at the school building program and what had gone on, there was a big hue and cry for an investigation. In response to that hue and cry, a commission of inquiry was set up under which came to be known as the Da Costa Commission. Now, the findings of the Da Costa Commission should be read by every Jamaican. And the objective is not so much to remind the population of where guilt or blame is, but to try to make sure that this process is never, and these mistakes are never, ever repeated. Today, Jamaica has a debt of some $1.7 trillion. This debt has been accumulated from the time of the loan for education in 1966. If those monies had all been spent in a way to get value for money, not only would Jamaica be a fully developed country by now, but Jamaica would be able to export capital and assist other countries to develop as well. But we are now faced with this debt of 1.7 trillion, which should have carried us well on the way to economic development by providing useful infrastructure or facilities such as schools and clinics, to provide us with first-rate education and health services. And to the extent that those monies were spent without the Jamaican taxpayer getting value for money, you now have the money to pay back, but with a labor force that is far less able to produce the goods and services competitively to pay that money. And for this purpose, more so than anything else, I would recommend that every Jamaican read the report of the Da Costa Commission just to see how we wasted what I regard as the most important opportunity in the history of independent Jamaica to accelerate the process to provide a first-rate education and training system.
I left my big job in a corporation to run for MP in the last general election, but the people rejected me, yammed me out and heckled me, and marked them X to the other MP. But my beloved party, they rescued me with a big government consultancy. Now I'm a consultant, a big government consultant. I have a contract, a big government contract. US dollars is what I get. Strictly cash, no bunks check.
The consequences related to the corruption in the World Bank loan were that half the schools were built that could have been constructed. Not enough schools were there for the expanding student population, which led to severe overcrowding of classrooms, bad student performance, poor learning outcomes, and low productivity.
But there is hope.